hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, ya, yo, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Hey, hi, ya, 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 hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, 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 me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, no, yo, 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 wata, pepe, hagi, tabi, ikhatiya, ya, bino, hey, yo. Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo, yo, me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, no, yo, wata, pepe, hagi, tabi, ikhatiya, ya, bino, hey, yo. Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya. Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo. Me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, no, yo. Wata, pepe, hagi, tabi, ikhatiya, ya, bino. Hey, yo. Hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, ya, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hi, ya, hey, hey, yo. Fort Beck Community College, Ukiepino, yo. Me too, gashi, dagush, kashka, yogi, no, yo. Wata, pepe, hagi, tabi, ikhatiya, ya, bino. Hey, yo.
Hey, 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 How matakuipi. Okay, yushke wanchian kampi. Chante washtea yuha na pechu zapido. Wakchinjo wakpa wunspe wankantu ya. Dechia dayan ya hipido. Okay, matakuipi Elijah Hopkins. Himiedo. Hello, relatives, and again, thank you for joining us here from Fort Peck Community College on the Buffalo Chasers podcast. Again, we are at week 12 of our podcast, and today's topic is the field of education. It has many different branches within that tree, within that road of life, but it's a good starting point for a good healthy discussion. And as a review, we always want to keep our discussion regarding mental health and wellness, and we do utilize the culture as our tool and a resource to kind of put us on a good path, and especially through these trying and difficult times. And a lot of us are in a virtual format, and we're doing our best here with the podcast to reach out to the community and to provide some good services. And I think we're lucky that we have some pretty well-known individuals within the community that have a lot of cultural knowledge. And one of these individuals, he's been guiding our podcast discussion for the past 12 weeks, Mr. Tommy Christian. And so what we typically try to do in our podcast here is in a good way, start us off with a prayer. And so I've asked Dekshi if he would share with us a prayer and then get us started in a good way. So, Pidamia Dekshi.
Oh, Toshka, Ushimalo mitaku pina omakia wa chekia ampetukile na ha. Kiksiapo nitaku pina ha. We chose ani upi okiawa. All my relatives, again, we're going to welcome you all here in a good way, and I want to thank my nephew for starting us off. And we had a little bit of technical difficulty starting here, so we're getting like a couple of minutes late, but hey, it's Indian time. But we can do that, and we'll always represent as well as we know how, with respect and dignity, to maintain the that honor and that integrity of who and what we are, so that can understand why we are here. So with that, I'm going to ask you all in a good way to help me out as we go to this higher power, this Dagowancha, this all these things that we depend on to help us understand the importance of our purpose and dedication. Ushimalo mitake epi omakia ochikia. Aha he atukashela wakantanka tadeya doba unchi makana makaina. Na komitake po anagi makpea ktaya ge hochoka kta hiopo. Ushia ke mitake epi na ha okia wo na ha. Oyate oyasi chanku luta aga omani o ichakia po ushu ichalapo. Na ha mitake epi wanagi makpea kta giksiapo mitake epi na wayama oyate ki na won speki oyate okiawo wichasha bele weapele na hakoshkapi wikoshkapi chanku ashte unkupi. Atukashila na wakantanka okia cha mitaki epi na ha agichita oyate ki zuya ekta. Oichakia po ushu ichalapo chanku ashte unkupi okiawo. Atukashila wakantanka giksiapo na ha mitaki epi Wayapi, oh, how do you say that? Um, those that help in a good way through our culture. And wapia wichashapi, wapia wiapi, chante washte unk upi, nasu washake unk upi. We're going to ask you in a good way on this day, my relatives that help us in understanding these good things, and those helpers, identifying those helpers, that you give them a good heart and you give them a good spirit to continue to support those that are having a tough time on this red road that we choose to walk on, and try to make good tracks on for the sake of those that are following us in a good way. We come to you on this day to help you us all understand the importance of this freedom that we're exercising, that we remember those that are putting themselves in harm's way for the sake of all that we come to understand is important to us. And as we continue to walk in a good way, we ask that you watch over all of our warriors, the men and the women that fight for this freedom that sometimes we take for granted, but at times like this, we definitely appreciate. So, again, we pray for them, and we ask that you continue to watch over all of the youth, all the young people, all of those that are wishing to become educated through the Fort Peck Community College, that you help them to understand the importance of our dependency on them to enhance and enrich their lives and in a good way through this educational process. And we ask that you watch over all of those that are teachers that are out there, the men and the women that mold these lives into such good things so that they can realize their production to a community that we all belong to and that we understand the importance that we should and really need to support in a good way. So we come to you on this day with the remembrance of those that are sick and ill and having a tough time. Ushiake mitakie pi unagi makpea ktaya ge ogia chana gixiapo mitakie pi unchima kaumani wayazapi. Okia chawo mitakie pi na chante yoksicho umani owi chakiapo ushi wichalapo. Hohe chaje mitao amnisha ge toba imachiapi omakia na hekchewi chasha mielo. How mitake oasi.
Dakwewase, Pidame Adekshi, a
Oasi.
beautiful
Oh,
prayer. Thank you for starting us out in a good way. I do want to make a couple announcements here before we kind of segue into our education discussion. One of which I wanted to announce the winners from week 11 podcast. Again, all of you that are out there in Facebook world that are following us live, give us a like, give us a share. That way we know that you are engaged and that we're doing some positive things. In the comment section, if you have any comments, questions, please put those in there and we will do our best to read those and get back to you. I want to encourage everybody to do that. You don't have to be a student to do that. We naturally encourage our students, but any community member that's has an interest or any questions, comments, please feel free to do that. One of the things that we do is to encourage participation is that we have some gifts, some things that we want to give away to those that participate. And one of those from last week is a Kindle Fire. I don't know if you can see that, but
oh,
their tablet, they're pretty cool. They do a lot of different things. So that's
Oyaka
one of those. Winner chicken dinner, Andrea Dam. You are the lucky winner. Come over to Student Services and we will hook you up with that. And if you can't make it over, just give us your mailing address and we can do our best to mail it out to you. The other winner is Mr. Michael James.
Yeehaw.
A jacket, not my jacket, but he gets one like this. One like this. It's got our new logo on it. It's a good jacket. Really chill, man. So congratulations to Andrea Dam, Michael James for participating. Week 11 winners. So we will announce the week 12 winners next week or the next time we have the podcast. So just a little FYI. And the next podcast winners will be this sweatshirt like this one I'm rocking right here. And we still have these fire tablets. So again, just give us some like on Facebook and share and we'll put your name in the drawing. Also, students, those of you that are on Facebook checking your student emails, the last couple of days we've been issuing out $200 food cards. That was issued by Fort Peck Community College to all current Fort Peck Community College students. This is one of our gifts to show appreciation to our students. It's out of respect. And when we look at that, we want to look at it as a gift. And because we respect each of you, we wanted to share this with you. And from a cultural perspective, one of the most important things that we can do for another individual is to feed them. And so my relatives try and look at it from that perspective, from that lens. So it's our intention with these food cards to honor you. And then when you accept these cards, you honor us. So it's two ways. So I just wanted to share that with you, relatives, and appreciate that. Go out and feed your family a good Christmas dinner in a good way. So with that, we also have another esteemed colleague of our institution, Ms. Suzanne Turnbull. She has joined the discussion. We reached out to her and we wanted to create a good, almost like a round table type of discussion. That's kind of what we're aspiring to. Those of you that have been part of this podcast and listened the past 11 weeks, past 12 weeks now, in some ways we just kind of wing it. So we have a topic, we talk about different things, but our goal really has been to be as inclusive as possible. And so some of the feedback after talking with Dex and different individuals, students, community members, that this podcast has had a far reach so far, much to my surprise, which is cool, really cool. And I think it's because of all the followers of Dekshi He has a lot of Ayapaha, a big network. And so it's really cool to see some of the comments and feedbacks that we get. And so one of those interesting comments, and I've heard it from a number of individuals, both men and women, is that they would like to see the Wia perspective, or at least invite them on, encourage them to participate. And so with that, I think that's why I feel really good that Suzanne has joined us today. And throughout this, our discussion on education, we want to, encourage her. She can share whatever she wants to, and especially the students too, feel free to chime in, but we want to make sure and have a good, balanced perspective, I guess you would say, because one of those common themes in all of our discussion with mental health is that Chanhadeshka, this circle of life. And so we want to incorporate that in there as much as we can. So with that, education is the topic. And when we look at that, I think about it in terms of higher education, obviously, but because we're a tribal college, we're uniquely positioned to do some really cool things, is to integrate, infuse our cultural knowledge, our ways of being as Assiniboine, Nakona, Nakoda, Dakota, Lakota, Oyate, to our ways of being, integrate them into our day-to-day walk for mental health, but also into our field of education. I was listening to some presentations recommended by Dekshi and his network, and there were some very interesting pedagogy, I guess you would say, different things that are relatives to the north that they're doing, Manitoba, and a lot of it has to do with not just language revitalization, but it's also it's from pre-K to 12, all the way into higher education. Really, the message is to not have our students hang their Indianness up on the door, as they go into the classroom. That they can bring that in there, and then they incorporate it through song and dance, and it's integrated into all aspects of their education. And so I think that's a good, healthy starting place, wherever Dex, Suzanne, wherever you would like to have the discussion go. I'm all for it.
Yeah, Suzanne, okay, yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, how you go first, Susan?
Oh.
Well, it struck me as always interesting when we talk about our culture and our language and our children. I think about children, we're still children learning, but I got somehow sidetracked and started looking at this really interesting piece of a study that somehow, I don't know how, was brought up this morning in my path, and I started reading it. It was talking about the social system of the Dakota Indians, and it was 1962. They were talking about kinship and values and rearing children, and how those values are, one of them it was our grandparents that did the correcting of the children. So the young children still were still looked at their parents with love. They weren't the correctors. They weren't the disciplinarians. And that love and connection they have with grandparents. But I also started thinking about where education begins. And having taught school, I thought my first teaching assignment was second grade, and I made it all the way through high school and alternative school, and did some early childhood with Head Start teachers here at the college. But when I went to kindergarten, I thought, this is it. This is ground zero. And I got to kindergarten and found out there's more than that. It's Head Start. So I'm starting over with a 4-year-old now in Head Start. And then I thought, well, there's more to this as well, of course. And it's during, their development from birth to when they start to walk. And I just started thinking about a lot of things, where we instill education and how those values are instilled in our children at a young age. And I remember hearing repeatedly from my mother from the earliest age, graduate from high school, go to college and make something of yourself. Graduate from high school, go to college. So I made every attempt and I got through high school. It was rough, and made my way to college. But I think how we plant those seeds at a young age with education, and it could be in a book, and it could be outdoors, basic life skills. And this was a social sociology type study, and they looked at our Indian relatives, and they talked about the values of kinship and that family and that belongingness. And I know having these podcasts and reaching out to our students is really important, especially during COVID, because everybody's been locked in and shut down. So this I hope is a bridge out to others, that they're not alone, and there is a belongingness, that they're welcome to hear what we have to say, or they may have a comment. And I see all the people checking in, and I see some relatives on there now. So this is funny. I can't get Zoom on there, but I get Zoom here. So I'm like three-way going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the way of the world. This is propped up so I can see what's going on. But, the one thing I thought about was babies. Babies are determined to walk. And some, when they get up to walk, they don't walk, they immediately run. How many times did that baby fall down and get up?
Yeah.
That's what I think about with education, or any goal we want to achieve, how we want to get there. If you fall down, get up. Those little babies, if they gave up every time they fell, none of us would be walking. So it's always that
Suzanne,
get up and go.
Suzanne, that's interesting that you have a study from 1962. But if we stop and we think about um, from a Nakona or Dakota perspective, why isn't in that educational process the more linear teaching and the abstract learning go hand in hand? How come one was left out? And see, that's what I think we're coming to, is that implementation of that uh, natural law experience, because globally, all of us are citizens of natural law, because basically, if you think about it, we all understand the importance of taking care of something that is of the utmost importance, and that's the Mother Earth, which contains the water and the minerals and all the stuff, the sustenance that we need to continue on. So that's why I refer to citizens of the world are under the auspice of natural law. And so why isn't it? And this is remember, we're talking about critical thought. So I'm just throwing this out there for those. I'm not telling them, or we're not being autocratic in our manner or anything like that, but we're wishing to plant a seed of just a thought, how important it could become and should become to have those two forms of educational process go hand in hand, not hanging, like Toshka said, not hanging your Indianness at the door as you walk into the classroom, and then picking it up as you walk out. Why can't they be hand in hand? And that's what we'd like our young people to really understand, the intuitiveness that is needed, the dependency that we old folks have on our young people, to take that next step, not to be afraid, and to make themselves strong. And it's in respect to the development of one's character through this opportunity, like Toshka mentioned, the sharing of these $200 gift cards is the most respectful thing you can do to anybody, is feed them. And so, out of respect, with the Fort Peck Community College exercising the virtue of generosity, they wanted to do the most respectful thing and provide them with some sustenance out of that way. And so as they receive it, like he was sharing again, you have a responsibility as the receiver of that to again understand the respect that's being shared, and then that opportunity to give and to take and to share and to give back and blah 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 without condition. Does that make sense? And see, this is what, since 1962, when that study was done, up to now has been avoided. Eh? And so we're wishing to try to fill that void with the new age people, the pop culture, for lack of a better term, to help them understand that they can be a part of it when they sit there on the couch and are watching and observing, that hopefully this podcast, that they can realize, oh, hey, I have a responsibility, yeah, to make myself strong in character. And in that process, we continue to go on and open our minds, help understand the importance of that worldview, that concept, that prospect, and what little part we play, but understanding we are a part of that chankleshka, that circle of life, that chankleshka wakhan, they say, because we're a part of that wamakashka, and wamakashka means all of this creation and inclusive of all things. And so that's something that's interesting, that gives us a little something, food for thought.
Well, you were talking about that value of
Yeah,
giving and generosity.
yeah,
What I found interesting, and this was written, I don't know when, but they were looking at our people's values.
yeah,
And that's the one thing they this these people, or this individual, marveled at that kinship and those values. And
yeah,
whether people and kids can put a name on it, I believe that's very strong in our community. I think, and I know people have those values to share
yeah, yeah,
already. It's just a common, um, and it was kind of funny, the story they were telling in here, and they were talking about, when they started on reservation life and the allotment act, and they were kind of spread out here and there. And, you know, a card to our people back in the day
yeah,
wasn't to go on vacations. A card back in the day was to go visit relatives, load everybody up, and go to ceremony. That's still like that.
yeah. Community car, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing, but the sad thing is about hanging the identity at the door when you go in. That's what I think is key. And one of the things we always try to maintain is that apoliticalness of about, and that's exactly what that addresses. The standard in which we're being evaluated or assessed at is a standard that is somewhat alien to us. They would go on a trip or a vacation in their car. We'd go to ceremony or to the store or run somebody to the next house, go visit relatives. It becomes a community, because not everybody could afford a car, but oh, uncle had one. You see if he'll give us a ride, man. Everybody pile in. But again, that's that value or that quality of life that uh, everybody is so concerned about, like right now. Oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And they're worried about eating and stuff like this. We'll just go out and go shoot a deer. But they don't have that available. Like us, it's not. It's just a standard of living that is not less. It's just more expansive. We can go and get our own food. We can go get our water down the creek as long as we boil it or whatever. But it's stuff like that does affect us at these times. So this kind of podcast perspective is kind of a lining in that dark cloud that's around us. It's kind of a silver lining in that. Once we come to understand the abilities that it takes to slow down sometimes, get rid of some of that stress, not be so worried about this, that, or the other, and then that's where our young people get an opportunity to where we can share with them now through this virtual experience, a way that they're accepting, not the way that we develop. They accept it. And so we're just trying to kind of get into their world through this. You think that's cool, Toshka? I mean,
Oh, that you too. I think like we've talked about it before on the podcast, and one of our aims again is mental health wellness.
yes,
And
yes,
sometimes that in order to get there, I think from my experience and listening to individuals like yourself over the years is our inner well-being. We have to make time to really make sure that our reality begins within. We're addressing those needs, our emotional side, our mental health, those different things. So that's an individual type of experience and journey, right? But the cool thing is, under our Buffalo Chaser model, the Buffalo model, we're connected to community, right?
Yeah.
And so when you think about it that way, for me anyway, it helps me to have this perspective to where my individual health is directly connected to community health and my participation in that. And so I think the question that we should be asking ourselves is, what do I bring to the table in terms of community health? Okay, and what is that? And we all have different talents. Like Dekshi, man, that guy's really good at Yapaha. Man, he can get down.
Yeah.
You know, my older brother Marty, he plays video games really good. You know, but different people have different talents. You know, and so I think if we can learn to cultivate those, whatever they are, and infusing the culture in there where we can, I think that's the enhancement that we talk about. Enhancement for the group, the communal thinking.
And you know, the classic thing that happened here, and I don't know if you guys see what I do. You ask uh, uh, an Indian woman to help out, already it just automatically comes to her. That little thing that she found in 62 that applies. So we wouldn't see that. Guys don't see that. We're more worried about what are we gonna talk about. We're gonna, and here she's doing research, man, getting into it.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I was not researching.
No, I'm not. No,
This was
but it
spirit
just
guided.
naturally come. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just comes to the lady where we wouldn't have seen
Oh.
it like that, and you would identify that and say, "Hey, this could apply." And yes, it does naturally. That's the point I was making.
The fact that we were
Is that
looked at
cool?
something, we've been, our Indian people have been looked at. Then they were looking at us as with the values we had and how important family was,
Yeah.
and how we were, the interrelatedness in our prayers when we talk about
Yeah.
Lamash, all that walk on the land, and how we are relatives with our buffalo.
Yeah.
And I must add, very proudly, they are matriarchal, you know, and their
Yeah,
herd, they
true.
lead
True.
matriarchal.
That's the truth.
So it's just, I'm just kind of fascinated that, not fascinated, it's just, it's interesting how you come upon these things when you think, you think about them, and I was a little nervous about getting on here to talk, and what would we talk about. I'm glad
Yeah.
to see Charles on there, but education, a communal, and the buffalo is one of those communal treasures, a love we have as a relative, and those are the hopes to bring back a lot of good things in our community, and that's a whole nother topic. But that is that's a hope we have for healing. I have for healing for our community and the Buffalo Prayer Path, and getting more of our young people and folks out to be just to sit quiet with them and to hear the wind or hear them bellowing during rut, or just see them just take off running with their babies. They want to hide them from you, and
Yeah.
how beautiful all that is. And I hope someday we can all make it out there. And anybody on here that's watching or listening, we'll go out when it's nice in the spring and summer and have a picnic and sit out there. It's beautiful.
Heck yeah. In fact, that's a good segue into that promoting something that's already here in the community that some of our students, some of our community members might not know about. And Suzanne's really been instrumental in the Pate group,
Yeah.
the Pate group, and the work that they've done with World Wildlife Federation, but really is promoting or protecting our relatives, Pate Oyate, Tatanko Oyate. There's, I don't know how many, about 300, 200 head, and
I don't know.
but there's a lot of them,
There's a
and
lot,
they're protected. They're I guess that what you would call the genetically pure buffalo that were out of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And that's a whole story. And Suzanne's had been pretty much been there experiencing from the start when they were first released out onto the tribal lands, and she's gone out there and watched them. I think you talked to me on, outside, but about how you've taken your granddaughter up there. And I think down the road, I think hopefully once our pandemic kind of goes away, the vaccine gets here, everybody's in a good way again, we can really kind of promote that more with our students. And Suzanne's already done some of this already, especially in the TRIO program, taking some of the students up there. But I'd like to do that even more, man. We could have, whether they're students or just community members, we can go out there and just really be connected with them and kind of observe and watch. It's something that any of us can do. We have the access, and it's not necessarily a ceremony, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that mindfulness,
Yeah.
and it's going
Yeah.
out there and just getting connected, man. And so I think that's just a really cool, important topic, probably in and of itself, like she was saying, but it's
Yeah.
something that's important that I think we should share.
And then that's consistent with understanding we're all citizens of that natural law, eh? And in that land-based teaching, just sitting out there and kind of getting away from everything and just relaxing, and then they realize, as it relates to buffalo, there's no such thing. It's an oxymoron actually as a herd bull. You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Because it's a cow. It's a cow that leads the buffalo herd, eh? It's the herd cow. And then I did a little bit of research, and I always thought in my mind that pete meant cow, buffalo cow, eh? But as I did a little bit more research into it, tatanka means like one bull, eh? Just one bull. But pute, oyate means all of them, the whole herd. It doesn't
Awesome.
mean just cow. Yeah, yeah, wasna. Yeah, the whole herd. And I didn't know that. I thought it just meant cow, but it doesn't. I guess in some arenas it does mean just a cow, but as I looked at I talked to some of my fluent speakers, they said, no, pute is like the whole herd, inclusive of all of them, eh? And I thought that was quite interesting because we sometimes use that word in different places. And so herd bull, and as it relates to buffalo, it doesn't is an oxymoron because it's a herd cow. It's the lead cow that kind of leads them around. And they're matriarchal. That's right, Suzanne. They are very matriarchal. They follow that herd cow out there. But it's an interesting concept to understand how important the ladies are to this whole process under this matriarchal system, and recognizing uh, like in education, you were speaking about when is the earliest times they teach. Parents are the first teachers, but guess who keeps the child from the ages of 1 to probably 3 is the mom. Okay? She has all that influence, and guess where, psychologically, guess where you learn your survival instincts from the year 0 to 3 years old is you learn all your survival instincts, and people don't know that, but they learn it from their mom. Okay? And so it's an amazing thing. And after 3, they go get to integrate with their parents, their dad and their grandma and grandpas, and then the uncles and aunts become the teachers and all that good stuff. Because again, the parents can't get involved because they'll always side with the children. They'll always try to take care of them. But it's important that these different dynamics of child rearing are understood. And that's what I mean. Like when it starts at home, how come it isn't consistent through Head Start, first grade, second, all the way through? But then again, it was denied. And so this is something that we need to understand, that this implementation of a value system based on character development is key to help us to become strong enough and secure enough and comfortable enough about who and what we are to bring that forward, to let it be incorporated. Like we're not trying to infringe or impose on anybody's right to exist, but we're wishing to respect that. And then, of course, we're wishing for reciprocity as well. And so that can happen. It will happen. I know it's going to happen. And I was talking to my nephew last night. He had a little bit of health issues with COVID and whatnot. And he was freaking out. And He's been doing this in the educational system for 20 years up in Saskatoon. I was initially on the board, myself and Kenny Goodwill and a couple of other elderly people. We were part of his board when he first started this, and they called it cultural responsiveness. And it had to do with land-based teachings, identity factor, implementing this value system into the classroom at a very young age. The teachers accepted that. The Indians and non-Indian teachers took on the attitude of not being so autocratic in their teaching manner, but taking on the attitude of uncle and auntie. I'm your uncle if you're a man. I'm your auntie if you're a woman. And that really appreciated, really helped the young Indian students to accept. And then after the young Indian students accepted their teacher as uncle or auntie, guess who got involved? The moms and the dads. They start coming to they overcame those atrocities they experienced in the school system itself, and they start coming supporting their kids. It is amazing even to this day how that whole process works. And once you get that understanding of that reciprocity and how important it is, not but for the sake of our can you hear me?
Oh,
I think it goes
Oh,
back to respect. You get
yeah, yeah.
everybody to respect one another, and then it's connects us all.
That yes, Cheryl, that's what it's based on. And see, that development of one's character, when you quit looking this way and blaming, and you look inwardly and you accept that responsibility, that's what we're talking about, is that development of one's character to be courageous enough and strong enough to respect those different, that diversity and that uniqueness should become an enhancement, enrichment for the sake of the growth of our children. And that's kind of the basis or the foundation of that attitude of natural law, citizens thereof, and being important to encompass all of that understanding and then respecting that without having to blame. Hey, you see how that works? And it's this is what these are about, and that's why I called this a silver lining within that dark cloud of COVID. Possibly we can deal with our young people into understanding how much we depend on them. They say in our language, your relatives are depending on you. So all my relatives, make yourself strong in character, not in muscle, but because we're not trying to overcome, but want to have that strength to be able to respect the diversity based on that uniqueness that you represent. Is that cool or what? That's the beauty of this whole thing, and coming together, including yourself in that changleshka, that circle of life, and really helping us be understanding that we're not doing it for ourselves, not trying to embellish our own egos or our own control through the autocracy, that autocraticness of the way things are set up now, but just trying to go with the flow, if you will, and really go out there and throw that critical thought and that intuitiveness of uh, our young people and the need for that too. They have their own minds, and they can come forward without being questioned, as long as it's in with respect. Cheryl, that's the key word. You got that right. It's respect. As long as they go forward with respect. You
Boy,
think?
isn't that is, that's quite the discipline,
Yeah.
and a good value to be able to listen to somebody who has a different opinion or thought,
Yeah.
or even has a path, a different value system. Maybe we all get to the same place,
Yeah.
but we've, got on, some rode a bus, some got on the train, some got on the plane, but we all seem to arrive at the same place. And to be able to, respect that, that walk, their journey, how
Yeah.
they got there to this place of respect, but also to be able to listen. And I think that's part of the respect, is really trying to understand where they're coming from.
that diversity. Exactly.
Mhm.
And then you maintain your uniqueness by understanding the importance of that, going forward with honor and dignity to sustain and maintain the integrity of who you are and what you're representing, because you're an individual, eh? And in that individuality, you maintain the understanding for the sake of the greater good. I'm a participant of this Changleshka. What is my purpose and dedication? Whereas under individualism, it comes down to I, me, my, or, I want this. Where's mine? I got to have this, that attitude of entitlement, where individuality represents us, we, and them, that for the sake of the greater good. And that's totally not political. That's apolitical, and it's a perspective of understanding what you're saying there. The ladies are saying here is that we need that respect. And how do you get that respect? Well, you develop that courage based on your ability to exercise these virtues that will make you stronger in character to represent yourself, understanding you don't only represent yourself but your family, your tribe, and all of people all over the world. So that's the thing that we're wishing to come through an educational process that I think the Fort Peck Community College represents. And one of the things that I really thought was really cool was feeding and respecting the students. Is that cool? Yeah, $200, man, that's gonna feed a lot of people. But just the ability to do that. They had choices to do other things. They could have done other things, as you well know, Suzanne, within the system, could have applied that money somewhere, but they want to respect their students in a good way, and in a cultural perspective, cultural setting, and say, hey, and then as the receiver, you appreciate that, helps. It's a part of development,
That's that giving away and
Yeah,
feeding the people. You
yeah,
do what you can
yes,
help.
cool.
And they'll feed the others, that's how it goes, the sharing.
That's cool.
One-
Albertson's gonna be broke, ain't gonna have nothing on his shelves.
yeah, it's good. It's good. One other thing, I'll just kind of chime in. I think with education, there's a lot of different roads, like we talk, a lot of different ways it can go. I had some really cool, really interesting discussions with different individuals, even Suzanne yesterday towards the end of the workday regarding history. Right, so part of education is understanding our history, and
Yeah,
we all have a unique family history.
yeah,
And she shared some of her family lineage with me, going back to the Greece. I thought that was really interesting, and as we look forward, there's already some individuals and different communities within the Oceti Shakoi that are preparing themselves for different memorial rides, different things. And so part of that is I like to kind of reflect on this time of year, not just Christmas, right? But what individuals and how they were impacted, and how the descendants of some of the ancestors, what they're doing to honor them. We talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
honoring, and one of those different things is these memorial rides. And I was talking with Dekshi the other day, and he was participated in a Dakota 38+2 ride some years ago, and um, way over in Minnesota, I believe. And so
Yeah, Mankato.
um, those are some really cool things that I think a lot of us here, we're descendants of those individuals, those ancestors. So that's a enrichment to our experience. I think that is, some of us, it really motivates us to continue to move forward, and with our own personal well-being, but then again, how it relates to community well-being.
Yeah. And see, that's so inclusive, Toshka. Uh, some can go do that. Some stay here and celebrate Christmas. We're all a part of it, and that representation is there, even in that arena. You see, so it's so inclusive. And then the ones over there will bring stories back to us that couldn't go or didn't go and stayed home and help the kids celebrate. Um, they bring stories back, and then we listen to them. We're an oral society, oral tribal people, and we understand the importance of that avenue of respecting, like what you said, Wukiksi Amitaki, Lila Hehani, they got killed, but in that we recognize that with respect, not to blame anybody, but understanding the importance of that memorialization, because that's what we do with respect. Eh? Is that cool? And yet without condemning anybody else, or but understanding the importance of our preparation, that preparation of to deal with that mystery of death, and not fear it per se, but prepare ourselves for it. Be good to everything and everybody as well as you can in that preparation. And the basic fundamental stuff is I think going beyond that fear, and just addressing the respect that is we pay to our relatives that passed, and of course understanding the importance of a more contemporary time where we need to address and honor the respect of those that could not go, but bring stories back for us, just kind of like that. And that's a part of who and what we are, eh? You think?
Oh, yeah, I
One
know.
of the things I was going to say, sorry, is, we might not physically be there with them, but
Yeah,
our prayers
yeah,
are with them.
yes,
And I think that's what counts, is
yeah.
those prayers for them. Our ancestors are important to us, even though they have passed on.
Oh,
There's, they're still with us.
yeah, yeah. And we're here as a result of them, right? Yeah. And so that's what we're remembering, eh? We're not going out and saying this, we're going there in a very honorable, dignified way with respect. And again, yes, Cheryl, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because again, as we do these things, with God on my side, who can be against me, sort of a thing, right? And so, in that representation of this higher power, this Wakantanka, the spiritual energy, you want to represent as well as you can, as respectfully as you can, not according to somebody else's standards, but as your own, as you understand it. And then that's why I say that diversity is important, that the respect that is, it's hard to respect something, especially when they're in their face calling you all kind of names and lying about you and everything, and you just got to sit there. But that's a part of it. You're not apathetic as it is that you're hey, you're strong enough to endure and withstand some stuff like that. Because again,
I when listening to, I see some parallelisms, this
yes,
time of the year when
yep,
Elijah brought up, it's a mournful time for what happened to our people in Mankato and at Wounded Knee, but it's also a sacred time to remember them, their lives and our
yeah,
lives.
yeah,
So along with the Christian holiday and Christmas, it is a time to celebrate. It's time
yeah,
to celebrate life.
yeah,
It's a time to celebrate being alive
yeah.
and remembering them. So those lights and those trees and that spirit of goodness and helping and love, we all know it
Wokiksuya,
shouldn't just be that one day, but it really brings
wokiksuya.
up a lot of gratitude about what
Yes.
our relatives have gone through for us to be here today. So we remember them like that too.
Yeah, that's it. That's see now we can talk like that. How come everybody else got to talk like that? See, that's what we're trying to profess out there. Help them understand the importance of, hey, we're gonna open these doors. We're gonna let people realize it's okay. We can, wo we chaki obo mani. We say that we walk with the truth, and in that we do that in a good way, in that representation again of not only ourselves but our family, our tribe, and what it is that we choose to represent, and whatever that consists of. You know, uh, the town of Poplar, we're representative of that, not just the Kota or Nakona that live here, but actually communally we're a part of that town, and we can represent that in a good way. That's going to come to a change. They're going to quit calling us Stab City or one of these days. That's so negative. But again, we say that with laughter, but there's some sense of truth to that. We can change that. That's what we need our young people to understand. Let we can address these issues of this negative connotation of this identity thing, and we can deal with these issues, and we can remember it, because on both sides, you're right, Suzanne. That's exactly what it represents, is that remembrance. In our language, we say, well, kiksuya. We remember them in a good way, eh? like ceremonial wise or whatever their ceremony happens to be, gifts and trees and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that. How many times have we enjoyed that aspect of Christmas? My kids just love it. Me, I'm just tired of wrapping presents till 3 o'clock in the morning, but my kids just enjoy it, eh? And so those are what we're wishing to promote, that diversity, like those parallels that you spoke about, Suzanne. Understanding.
Wachincha wakpa.
Oh, yeah.
Wachincha wakpa.
Yeah.
You know,
Cottonwood
that's what I want
Creek.
my granddaughter to say. She says, I say, where are you from? She says, Pop Tana. Where are we at? Wolf Tana. I said, we live in Wachincha wakpa.
Yeah. Cottonwood Creek.
It's a habit to learn new things too.
Stuff like that. But anyway, education is key. It's important for us to understand the importance. The more we come to know, the more we realize we don't know. and with that, Toshka, I know we're getting got started kind of late, and there's so much we can talk. But Suzanne, make a time. Like, we wanted Gifford here too. He's good at it too. We wanted Gifford. I'm so glad that Cheryl took some time to do this as well. But make time for next week too, and come in and have that female input, that woman's input, because from that matriarchal perspective, people need to understand. We're not savages. We're very respectful individuals that include our women. And in that process, they are held in high regard. One of the things that we shared earlier in one of the earlier podcasts is the women are held with such reverence and high regard, is when the women try to act like men, they're putting themselves down. Okay? They need to maintain that dignity and that honor, that compassion, that empathy, that loving, that caring, that sharing, and not try to be like narcissistic, ego-fied men and come down to that's hold yourselves up there. That's the thing, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we want to share in a good way. That makes sense, Toshka?
Oh, that you too. And just to add to that, I feel like you've really kind of balanced out our discussion here today.
Oh.
It's something that's been lacking, and so I appreciate your participation, Suzanne.
Do I get my check now or later?
Yeah, later on I'll drop it off.
Yeah.
2 food cards on top of it.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
Oh, and then one other thing when I was listening to you talk, Dex and Suzanne, was that like, for example, the Christmas tree. Past few years we have 3 little ones, and we got a live tree. My wife really likes the live tree, so we took it and got all the lights on it, tinsel and all this stuff, right? I'm looking at it and we got the music in the background, that's good. So we're creating memories for the kids, that all this generosity, the spirit of giving and family and making time for family. But I was looking at the tree, and you know what I was thinking? I was looking at those pine needles. You know what I was thinking?
Yeah.
I was thinking that
sweet pine.
That's sweet pine there. So that's combining the 2 ways of knowing it and making it work for us. So that's going to be some smudge. Azid Michie. So anyways, it looks like we're at the end of our discussion. I want to thank both of you, and for Cheryl for joining us. Looks like she had to go to another meeting, she said. But so again, a few other little things before we wrap up. This is week 12. For those of you that are still following us on the Facebook feed, those of you that catch up to us later on, put your comments, questions in the comments section. We will do our best to get at you on those and to address any concerns that you might have. And again, by giving us a like, giving us a share, commenting, you are promoting the podcast and helping spread the message that we have for mental health and wellness in this environment with this Buffalo Chasers podcast. We will announce the winners of the drawing next week. Also, we have related to spring semester for our students. Again, I have to do this plug. Spring semester 2021 is officially open. It's been open. And so again, free tuition and fees. I'll say that again, free tuition and fees. So students, Just register for classes. It's open to everybody. The only thing that we require here at Fort Pitt Community College, because we're an open enrollment institution, is just a high school diploma or equivalency degree. And if you don't have that, we have sources and resources
Yeah.
to help you even get that. But to take college level classes here, that's all you need. And it doesn't matter if you're Gisuna Hecha, doesn't matter if you're Hasapa Hecha, doesn't matter what your background is. We're all inclusive. We take any student, tribal, non-tribal. You're welcome here to join the Buffalo Chaser Society. Classes begin, I believe, on January 19th. So come on in. We have a couple different formats. If you're a returning student, you kind of already know the ropes, right? Just see your advisor. We'll hook you up. But for new students, transfer students, we have a couple different options. We respect and we have a process in place to make our physical campus safe for students. So we have social distancing guidelines in place. We have masks, all those things, but individuals can come into our institution at the War Eagle Vision building here in Poplar or the Dumont building in Wolf Point. Yeah. You can have face-to-face registration assistance if you need some, trying to figure out which path that you want to go on. But it can be a little overwhelming, but we have certain staff members like David James, student services staff member. He will be in Wolf Point Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we have a lot of staff here at the War Eagle Vision building at the student services reception area. We have these computers. We can completely automate the process, and it's mostly all online. So let's say if Billy Bob lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, you can take classes here and you can register all online. We'll send you out a Zoom link. Start off maybe with a phone call. We'll get you into the system and you can take all of your classes online. Granted, not all classes are strictly online, but most of them are, with the exception
if you look
of
at
like
the course,
the
class schedule. Thanks, Elijah. If you look at the class schedule at the top of the Fort Pitt Community College webpage, look for the number 90. 90s are strictly online. So if your course, it won't say hybrid. 90s, there's a number, it'll say online. So we have quite a few courses that are strictly all online. So
and then
that'll work for a lot of folks.
Where we get those, and thank you for sharing that, Suzanne, is you go to fpcc.edu. Go to our homepage and you go right up top there, and where it says students, there's some resources, but you can see the class schedule, the most updated version. And that's where, if you're brand new, it says apply now, click that, and that's where you get everything started. So we can completely walk you through that through like a Zoom call, kind of like what we're doing now, or you can come on in and have some face-to-face advising. Okay, so we want to make sure that you're aware that this exists. There's these resources that are in place. Again, we're open enrollment for anybody. Free tuition and fees, including books. Usually that's the most expensive thing, is those books. But we will take care of that for you. Just come on in. Also free computers and free internet installation. As long as you're part of this Buffalo Chaser Society, we'll hook you up, man.
Food
gotta
plan.
Be 6 credits. Yeah. At least 6 credits in degree seeking. That's basically 2 classes, and you pick a major. If you do that, man, you're going to get hooked up. You might get some food cards. We got meal plans.
There you go.
We'll hook you up. So every week, come in. We'll even send you out a food card to you. Okay, if you're way over there in Arizona, we'll hook you up. Hook you up. So it's like you'll still have this experience. So there's that. So I want to encourage everybody, take classes, completely free. The other thing that I wanted to encourage and participation in is our Friday virtual talking circle. So every Friday, check your student email. That is specific for current Fort Pitt Community College students. Check your student email. And then every, like I said, Friday from 11 to noon. And we incentivize this. Okay, we incentivize participation. It'll be via a Zoom link. So check your student email. You join. There'll be individuals like myself or Dexy Tommy or different student services staff members will be there. But it's designed specifically for students. So that way you can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And we symbolically pass the virtual feather around. And when you have that feather, you can talk about whatever it is related to mental health. Okay, that's why we have these platforms in here. That's why we have these awesome resources like Suzanne and actually Tommy here to kind of be a resource for you guys to hold on, because part of our job is to not let you give up on yourself. And so that's what these things are here for. And I think that we'll continue to have them as long as you're aware that they're there. They're definitely a positive thing for your experience. So again, every Friday from 11 to 12 p.m. So with that, I think that's about all we have for this week's episode. I want to say Wopida Chichapado to all of you for joining us today, wherever you are. Thank you again for Suzanne, Tommy, and Cheryl for joining us.
And you're not alone. We're here.
Oh, H2.
Hey ha ya hey ha ya hey ya hey yo hey ha ya hey ya hey ya hey yo hey yo hey ha ya hey ha hey ha Fort Beck Community College, Uki Ebino, yo, me too, Gashi, Dagush, Kashka, Iyo, yo, Wata, Baby, Agi, Tabi, Itachi, ya, Bino, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ya, yo, hey, ha, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, hey, yo, Fort Beck Community College, Uki Ebino, yo, me too, Gashi, Dagush, Kashka, Iyo, yo, Wata, Baby, Agi, Tabi, Itachi, ya, Bino, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ya, yo, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, yo, Fort Beck Community College, Uki Ebino, yo, me too, Gashi, Dagush, Kashka, Iyo, yo, Wata, Baby, Agi, Tabi, Itachi, ya, Bino, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ya, yo, hey, ya, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, ha, ya, hey, WordPad community college. Uki epino yo yo yo. Ito gashi dagush kashka yogi piano yo yo yo. Wata pepe agi kape inachi ya pino. Hey yo.
Good one.
Hookah. Hookah.
Oh,
Doksta, Dex.
oh, Dukshaka. Hey, Chituela.